Morning, McGraw. Good morning, Kelly.
Good morning.
David Stokes, you are a Show Me Institute policy analyst, and tomorrow is Election Day. You must be all excited about tomorrow.
Right. I'm looking forward to the choice. I'm looking forward to the decision by Missouri voters. Are we going to move forward with a policy of primarily using user fees to pay for our roads and bridges, or are we going to make a major, and likely permanent switch to paying for these things out of general sales taxes, which is terrible public policy?
Let's get to that in just a second. But and forgive me if I don't sound cynical for the next minute or two, but it's Election Day, and there are people who have died for this right. There are people around the country who don't have this right, and we, in the freest society in the world, 4%, 5% of the actual eligible voters are going to go out and vote tomorrow? What a tragedy.
Well, yes, low voter participation is a problem. I'm more concerned about that in general elections. Tomorrow is a primary election day. Now, there are these important ballot propositions on there.
Right.
But I get less concerned by low turnouts in a primary because lots of people don't consider themselves members of a party.
Right.
So if you don't consider yourself a member of a party, I don't blame you for not voting. That said, there are, this primary day, a particularly large number of ballot issues.
Right.
So people should be informed about those ballot issues. And we have the option in Missouri of going to the polls and picking a ballot issue only ballot.
Right. But you can also skip if you choose not to skip, or if you choose not to vote in one election or another. That doesn't mean you can't then vote in the other ones. Right. So, I mean, if you don't want to vote on the St. Louis County race, but you want to vote on Amendment 1, 4, 7, or 8 or whatever, you can choose to skip that and then go to the other ones.
Right. You can ask for a ballot that only has those issues on it, those 5 constitutional issues,
right,
and none of the party races. Or you can ask for a Democrat, Republican, Constitution, Green, Libertarian ballot and just skip all those parts and just go down to the ballot issues. It counts just the same.
All right, now let's get to Amendment 7, which is sort of in your bailiwick, if you will. The amendment says 0.75% sales tax. Is it forever? Is it 10 years? Does it sunset? What's the length of this thing? It
sunsets after 10 years and would then be put up for reauthorization by the voters. But we at Show Me Institute often talk about how it's largely a permanent change, because if they're saying now that there's no political support, they being the supporters of the sales tax, if they're saying now that there's no support for a gas tax increase, well, 10 years from now, when this proposition forbids any other increases in the gas tax, well, how are you going to increase the gas tax 10 years from now by this thinking? It's if you have to raise it by 10 cents now, 10 years from now, you'll have to raise it by 20, 25, some very large number.
Mm-hmm.
The smartest way to do it is to a gradual gas tax increase to fund our necessary road and bridge improvements, not this giant switch to sales taxes and not user fee based, which, because of these impediments they put in, making it harder to do tolling, which is already hard in Missouri, making it illegal to raise the gas tax for 10 years. Well, this is, for all intents and purposes, going to be a permanent change, and a bad permanent change at that.
So if this were to be a gas tax, you would be much more comfortable supporting that.
Absolutely.
Right.
I think the number of taxes that Missouri needs to raise, according to David Stokes of the Show Me Institute, might be small, but the gas tax, a reasonable increase in the gas tax, I think would benefit this state, and it would be far better policy than this sales tax idea.
Yeah, I wanted to get that out because a lot of times you talk about no taxes or we're taxed too much, but the fact that you, representing the Show Me Institute, is in favor of a gas tax is an interesting position.
Right. I believe we need to invest in our roads and we need to invest in our bridges. That part's not bogus.
Right.
I think they're overstating how bad the condition of our roads and bridges is as part of this effort to get people to support this change. And we've got an interesting video by my colleague Joe Miller up at showmeinstitute.org that addresses that. That said, we need to invest in our infrastructure, and a gas tax, user fees, be it higher licensing cost to register your car each year, slightly higher increases there.
Mm-hmm.
Costs that connect the act of driving with the cost of driving. This now we're going to start paying for our roads and bridges based on how much we shop. It will have nothing to do with how much we drive. That's actually going to subsidize the cost of driving and particularly benefit the trucking industry, who do an enormous amount of damage to our highways. The amount of damage a heavy truck does dwarfs that of hundreds, if not thousands, of cars. And they're not paying anything under this proposal. It's just a very bad policy idea.
It sort of leaves the people who say, I believe that the roads and I think we need to give more money to the roads and the bridges. It supports local jobs. It supports it's good paying construction jobs. It'll help with everything. But if I vote against this, that money's not going to come around again. So I either pay for it now, or if a gas tax isn't popular now, it's not going to be popular 5 years from now, 2 years from now, next year. So if I don't vote yes tomorrow, we're never going to have money for the roads.
Well, that's what they'll probably try and argue. The fact is, they could easily in the next session put a gas tax increase on the ballot. And they say as part of this argument that they pulled it, and it pulled really poorly. That's why they're doing a sales tax. Well, I don't believe that for a second. You can get any question out of any poll that you write for. You want to answer that you want, write the poll to get it. So put the gas tax on the ballot. That's what they should have done this time. Put a 10, 11, 12-cent gas tax increase on the ballot. And I would support charging diesel tax a little higher. Trucks do inordinately more damage to the road than average cars do. I don't think there's anything wrong, like many states have, with a slightly higher diesel tax.
Wasn't there a gas tax proposal 10 years or so ago?
I believe the last time we raised the gas tax was in the 90s when the legislature increased it 2 cents a year for 3 years. And I don't recall a gas tax proposal being defeated by the voters.
I want to go back and do a little research on that. I want to say mid-2000s, the mid-aughts, there was a bill, maybe 2003, 2004. There was a gas tax proposal that was defeated by the voters. You know, it's almost. I'm with you. I would have liked to have seen a gas tax, but the powers to be, the legislature had a choice, and the overwhelmingly anti-tax Republicans put it on the sales tax, and then the governor put it on this election as opposed to the general election, which gives you the option, or what am I trying to say here? Taxes usually fail in the lower turnout races. Would you agree with that?
At the state level, I think there's probably truth to that. At the local level, I think the lower turnout, like in school districts, cities, I think the lower turnout can often favor tax increases. But this is statewide.
Right.
And I do know the cigarette tax increases, which have gone before the voters of Missouri twice in the past decade.
Right.
And both failed by close margins, surprising many that they failed. So, yeah, that's a good example.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens here. But your points, I think, are well taken. Go back and talk for a moment. If this passes, why will it be harder to get toll roads?
Because as part of this bill, they've put in some language, both outlawing any increase in the gas tax during the term of the sales tax, and putting further impediments to establishing toll roads in the state.
Yeah,
and I think that's going in the wrong direction. It's already hard to do toll roads in the state. You can't do them with the state trust fund, which is the primary method of building major roads in this state.
Right.
So now they're making it a little trickier even at the local level. And these are steps in the wrong direction, particularly, though, the outlawing of any gas tax increase, I think, is particularly bad. That's why this is a permanent change, because if you can't raise the gas tax now, so they say, you're not going to be able to do it in 10 years when you really have to triple it or quadruple it.
And your premise is that if you raise the gas tax, if you choose to ride your bike or buy a better fuel efficient car, you will be benefiting from those choices, therefore using less gas, therefore not having to subsidize the roads you're not using or using them to a lesser extent.
Absolutely. Well put. There's nothing wrong with the people who use the roads paying for the roads. Mm-hmm. There's nothing wrong with people who use the bridges paying for the bridges. The user fee model has funded infrastructure in this country, in this state, for a long time. It works. If it's not raising enough money now, don't abandon the user fee model. Just increase the tax a little bit. But it's not that hard.
But doesn't everybody benefit from the roads, whether they use them or not?
Yes, but they do not all benefit equally. Somebody who walks to work, has a short commute to work, bikes to work, benefits from the roads far less than somebody with an hour-long commute to work. Most of all, the trucking industry, which exists because of our interstate highway system,
Right.
and under this proposal will pay nothing more to fund it. Nothing. I want to repeat that. The trucking industry will pay nothing under this proposal.
Doesn't the can of peas on the shelf at the grocery store cost less because the trucking industry isn't paying that extra gas tax?
It probably does cost a tiny bit less, but you know what? The amount that little can of peas or the average truck bed has tens, if not hundreds of $1,000s of equipment in it. You know, that 0.75 cent tax increase, 1% tax increase on every good you buy is going to be a lot more for just about every Missourian out there than any potential savings by not taxing the trucking industry more. The consumers of Missouri are not winning by this proposal as much as the supporters of this gas tax are trying to claim that they are. This is poor policy.
That's an interesting point. So the 0.75 cent sales tax on that can of peas is going to be more than the cost of what the shipping industry would charge to pay for the extra taxes in the gas tax.
Absolutely. That $100 good you buy, that 75 cents you add to that is going to dwarf that trucking bed with $100,000 worth of goods in its back, which now pays $30 extra to cross the state.
Yeah.
Divide that by the good, it's not even close. They're making that argument, but it's wrong.
Yeah, you also look at taxes overall, and I know the easy thing to do is complain about taxes, but if you take a look at your paycheck at the end of the month, right? You've got federal taxes taken out, you've got local taxes taken out, you've got state taxes taken out, then you've got your Medicaid and Medicare, Social Security, all of that, and then whatever your bottom line is, whatever that bill is. Right? Let's say it's $1,000 a month you take home, or $1,000 a paycheck, or $500 a paycheck. Then minus about 10% of that, because that's the sales tax you pay on that money.
And it goes up and up and up. And in the past, look, Show Me Institute has proposed changes in state sales tax policy. So it's not like we have increasing it in favor of lowering out the income tax to benefit all Missourians. But as we go, that becomes harder to do as we go up and up and up in this relentless march upwards on sales tax.
I mean, we're close to 10% in some towns, aren't we?
If this tax passes, 10% would be more or less standard in the greater St. Louis area with all the community improvement districts and transportation development districts. I mean, every shopping mall in the region's got 2 special taxing districts that nobody knows even exist.
Right.
Designed only to raise money for the TIF that then gets kicked back to the developer. It's unbelievably bad how this system works for people.
But whatever that bottom line is, though, on your take-home pay, right, minus 10%, because the majority of stuff you buy will have a sales tax attached to it, right? I mean, outside of food and maybe some other things, whatever. But most of the stuff is sales taxable.
Absolutely. And food is taxed in Missouri, the sales tax. This tax will not apply to food.
Oh, okay.
And the state has a reduced sales tax on food, but it's there.
Food is sales tax, huh?
Yeah, your local sales tax. When you go to the grocery store,
Yeah.
Single guy here, McGraw, not spending a lot of time at the grocery store.
Well, I go to the grocery store. I just don't look at my receipts.
No, you pay sales taxes when you buy groceries. This tax will, in truth, not apply on groceries.
Right.
And the change on groceries is that the state tax, which is normally 4.225, is 1.225 on food.
I
but
see.
all your local sales taxes are the same.
Gotcha. Interesting. All right. David Stokes, when can we read you? When can we see you?
We have a lot of great information by my colleague Joe Miller and others about this Amendment 7 policy transformation, bad policy transformation, which voters will be weighing in on tomorrow up at showmeinstitute.org.
That is David Stokes, ladies and gentlemen, Show Me Institute policy analyst. Have a good week.
You too, McGraw.
All right, 8:52 KTRS.
This is an urgent message for all individuals with extremely large credit card debt. No matter how much you owe on your credit cards, the company that has settled more debt than anyone in the U.S. could settle your debt too. While you make one low monthly program payment, you have the opportunity to hear how low your monthly program payment could be for free. This free information is available now simply by calling Freedom Debt Relief at 1-800-900-5538. I repeat, if you have extremely large credit card debt, you now have the ability to reduce your total debt and get one simple low monthly program payment. This could allow you to resolve your debt faster than you ever thought possible. But you should act quickly. Call Freedom Debt Relief now to learn how much you could save. 1-800-900